All right, everyone. Welcome back to the Business Blast podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Wagner, and today I have with us Doris Gross. She's the founder of FemPress Media, a media publishing company focusing on books and magazines for women. So welcome, Doris. I'm grateful to have you here.
Thanks for having me. Hi, Tyler.
And to get it started, the first question I have for you is, what's the best story from your life that has an underlying valuable message?
So I think the best story of my life is actually the part where I moved to the US, which is just like about 2 years ago. I think the most valuable part of it is that I really had no actual plan. I just had a vision and I just did it, kind of. It sounds easier than it obviously was, because I came from a very, very difficult kind of life before. I had everything, but I had nothing to be said. I had like everything material wise, but I didn't really have a social life. And I wasn't really in a good place. So I think the value part of it is that, as I said, I didn't really have an actual plan. I just figured out how to do it while I was doing it. And which means that when I moved to the US 2 years ago, I built a business. Without having a business plan, I moved abroad from Germany to the US, and I became a first-time mom, and everything in 9 months, which is a ton of situations like gathering in one place. So I think the main message, or the most valuable part you can get out of this is just like, just do it. Don't even think about the consequence or what could happen. I think that's maybe the most inspiring and most valuable part you could pick out of my life.
And what's the most valuable piece of information we should know that's within your expertise or industry?
I think the most valuable piece is that what I learned in the last couple of years is that it's allowed to ask for help. I just know, like in my beginnings when I started, I didn't, as I said before, I didn't really have an actual plan, and I thought like asking for help is kind of a sign for failure, or for weakness. And so what I always find in my industry, and always when I work with those women and with all those successful entrepreneurs, it's very important to allow yourself, to be vulnerable, to show that you need help, and it's not like you have to do everything on your own. You have to be perfect. So in my field, what I see a lot of times is that people are afraid of asking for help. People are afraid of asking, how did you do this? How did you do that? And that's basically why I chose this topic, to talk about those successful entrepreneurs out of that perspective, to really go behind the scenes and really actually see and experience how they did it when they, became successful.
And what's your best piece of overall business advice?
I think the best piece is like, it doesn't have to be perfect. Just start somewhere. Even if it's just like, writing a short email, like having a phone call, or like researching, but don't stuck in this area of just researching. At some point you have to get into action. You have to take all the information out of the ebooks and print books and all those email courses, and just start somewhere. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be complete. You just need to do it at the first step.
And if you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Listen to yourself and listen to your gut. That's very, very important for me, because I experienced in my journey over the past years that always, when I listened to my gut, I was always right. It wasn't always the easiest way, but it always worked out perfectly. And I was always right. This was the perfect path for me.
And in your opinion, what's the key to happiness?
I think like to find a sweet spot, in every situation, which means the perfect combination out of like a healthy life, a happy family, and being successful in business. And it's always kind of a balance. Like almost never happens that everything is like on one level. But I think the key to happiness is really to be satisfied with what you have, to be grateful for the things you reached already, and to just like always be able, or always willing to find a sweet spot and have the perfect balance in your life.
And what's the best book you've read, and what was the number one thing you learned from it?
The best book, there are actually more than one books, but I remember very well the first book I ever got into my hands in the self-help section, and that was Good in a Room from Stephanie Palmer. And it's about how to sell yourself and your ideas and win over any audience. That was very important for me right at the beginning, because I was a very shy person. I didn't really want to talk about my ideas and my big visions, and I always thought, like, what will the people think about me? Will they think I'm crazy, or to not really think that I would do it? And this book really helped me to get my first start and to do the first steps towards self-realization. And what I actually also read, I love biographies from really successful women. And just like I said before, I really love to see behind the scenes and what happened really, because like every successful entrepreneur like failed at least a couple times, but no one really talks about it. And those biographies, they always help me to really get the detailed look behind the scenes.
And what's your favorite quote and why?
My favorite quote is, I didn't actually know from who it is or who said it, but my favorite quote is, what's meant for you will not pass you. And it's my favorite quote because it's very motivating for me, especially in times when it's getting really difficult, when I think I stuck in some situation, that it will pass. It will not be, the deal breaker. It will not be responsible for being a big failure or feeling like a big failure. So what's meant for you will not pass you. I think it's a big message for myself to keep doing what I'm doing.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, Doris. And the last question that I have for you is, where's the best place for people to find you online?
You can find me perfectly on social media, on Instagram and Facebook. You can find me there under Mrs. Globalicious, especially on Instagram and Facebook. Yeah, Doris Grows or Mrs. Globalicious.
Perfect. Thank you again for coming on, Doris. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It was fun.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.